Good day to all of you. Today I'll be talking about learning and thinking styles. So in the previous lecture video that I've made, I've talked about individual differences, and these individual differences is one of the factors that contribute to the diversity of our learners. And in this topic, learning and thinking styles, we can analyze that this is also another factor that contributes to their differences or to their diversity. Now, why is it important for us teachers and future educators to know these thinking and learning styles? You have to remember always that your clients are your learners, right? And the most important thing in the thinking learning process is actually our learner. Okay, so you have to design a strategy that suits to their learning style. So having this knowledge will equip us on the strategies and assessment that we can make so that we can cater all of their needs. So, learning and thinking styles are categorized into two. We have sensory preferences and analytic. Global analytic continuum. Sensory preferences. So under sensory preferences, we have the visual learners. Some of you might be like this as well. So some of you might be visual learners. All right. So what is visual, or who are the visual learners? Okay. If you're a visual learner, you prefer something to see while learning. All right. So if you are listening to a lecture discussion, you prefer to sit in front or in a place where you can see clearly the presentation of the teacher. And if you're the teacher, you have to bear in mind that you have to present pictures, graphics, right, icons, and so on and so forth, because some of your learners might be visual learners. Okay, they can easily recall as well information if they've seen it. Okay, if there's a presentation that they've seen, so it's important to provide visual presentation to visual learners. Visual learners have two types. So we have visual iconic. So visual iconic learners prefer learning with visual imagery. All right. So they must be presented with film, graphic display, or pictures. Okay, in order to have concrete learning. All right. So that is visual iconic, from the word itself, icon, right? And the other one is visual symbolic. Okay, they feel comfortable with abstract symbolism such as mathematical formulae or the written word. Okay, so they would still see, but it's still visual because they want to see the formulae or the letters or the written words. Okay, so if there's a lecture method, they would sit in front so they can see the text. Okay, or they would prefer even reading books. Okay, because books also contain symbolic items. Okay, and even icons, right? So those are the two types of visual learners: visual iconic and visual symbolic. Next, under sensory preferences is auditory learners. Okay, so auditory learners prefer learning through listening, so they are good listeners. Okay, so there you go. They must hear something, not only see, right? They have to hear something so that they can learn best, right? They would also like listening to music while studying. That's still a characteristic of an auditory learner, right? And we have two types here. Okay, so we have the listener, the listener wants always to listen, okay, to hear discussions, okay, from other people so that they will learn. And the talker, the more they will learn, okay, to concretize or solidify their learning, they would like to talk with other people and share the information that they have acquired. Okay, we have the listener and the talker. Okay, however, hindi po yan yung tinatawag nating chismosa sa talker. Okay, it's because chismis has no, concrete evidence, right? So magkaiba po yun. Okay. Next, it's the last one under sensory preferences is tactile and kinesthetic. So there, as you can see in the picture, they are involved in learning. At the same time, they are doing something. Their body and hands are involved in learnings. Therefore, they would like active learning and they would like hands-on activities in order for them to learn. So, hands-on or learning by doing. Okay, so that's the last one, tactile and kinesthetic. So you can reflect now to yourselves, what kind of learner are you? Are you a visual learner? Are you an auditory learner? Or are you a tactile kinesthetic learner? Okay, we also have the global continuum. Under global analytic continuum, we have the analytic. So analytic thinkers tend towards the linear step-by-step process of learning. So there must be a process in learning, okay? And it must be presented logically. If it's for analytic learners or thinkers, they tend to see finite elements of patterns rather than the whole. They are the three seers. So as you can see here, right? What they would see in the picture is not the forest itself. They wouldn't say it's a forest, but they would look at it as, as numerous trees. So they are the three seers. That's analytic. For global, it's the opposite. So global thinkers lean towards non-linear thought and tend to see the whole rather than particle elements. They are the forest seers. So if they're going to see the picture, it's not the trees that they're going to focus on, but it's the totality of it. It's the forest. Okay? So that's global thinkers. They wouldn't see the pattern, but they would see the general perspective of it. Okay? Global. Several theorists have tied the global analytic continuum to the left and right brain continuum. Okay, so this is another perspective to this. Okay, so we have the left brain hemisphere, and right brain hemisphere, or left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Basically, if what is dominant to you, for example, if your right brain is dominant to you, you are left-handed. Okay, if your left brain is dominant to you, you are right-handed. Okay, and this, according to some theories, these tell a lot about our learning preferences. Okay, and of course learning style. So let's see, right? So which is dominant to you? Is it left hemisphere or right hemisphere? And you try to reflect on this illustration. So there you go, left brain, the analytic, and right brain, the global. For left brain or analytic, successive hemispheric style, simultaneous hemispheric style. So we have there visual. You can see this. All right. So the analytic or left brain, they are more of visual compared to right, which is visual. Okay. Response to word meaning. If you're analytic, whether denotatively or connotatively, and for right brain global, you respond to the tone of voice. Okay, it's not important. I mean, the meaning itself from the connotative or denotative meaning of the word is the secondary, important, right? Importance. The primary important here is the tone of voice based on global or right brain people. Okay, so it's sabi nga nila, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Left brain, since they are logical, here, sequential, random. Processes information linearly, so there's a process in learning. Process information in varied order. Okay, response to logic, response to emotion. So right brain hemisphere, okay, are emotional people. Okay, ayan. Where are we? Emotional. Ayon, response to emotion. So if you're right brain, you're left-handed. Therefore, are somewhat, emotional, more emotional than the left brain uh, hemisphere. Okay. Plans ahead. So for analytic, they would like to, have to-do list. Okay, they will plan what are they going to do the next day, or what are their goals in the week, or what are the things that they have to do within the month. Okay, so there's already a plan. Impulsive naman dito sa right brain. Okay, recalls people's name. Analytic recalls people's faces, global. Okay? Yan. Speaks with few gestures when speaking. Okay? So it's like this, right? They would do a lot of actions and gestures when they are speaking. So may can remember a lot of people like this, no, na action talaga, ini-enact talaga na yan, na-act out nila yung mga sinasabi nila, no, right? So yun pala yun, no, meron pwedeng global learners kasi sila because they prefer gestures, no? Punctual and less punctual. Prefers formal study design, prefers sound music, background design. Prefers bright lights while studying, and prefers frequent mobility while studying. Meaning, pwede silang tumayo-tayo. Okay? Yan, they move when they study. Hindi sila pwedeng nakaupo lang ng magdamag, okay, or isang oras, 2 oras. Dapat they have to do something. Okay, ganun din yung sa kinesthetic, right, in others, kasi they would prefer doing something while learning. So kapag nag-lecture ka ng ilang oras, hindi sila mapapakali, right? But again, it's not the mistake of the learner because that's their characteristic. You have to reflect as a teacher for that. Okay, so those are the learning styles and thinking styles of our learners. Let's try to recall the things that we studied. Okay, so there are 2 categorizations of learning thinking styles. We have the sensory preferences and global analytic continuum, right? So for for sensory preferences, we have what? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Okay, so for global for visual learners, we have visual iconic and visual symbolic. For auditory learners, we have the listener and the talker. Okay, so global and we also studied global and analytic continuum. So we have the left hemisphere for that, left brain hemisphere, and right brain hemisphere. For analytic learners, they are also called the tree seers because they would see the details of the information. Okay, they're more logical. In global, they're also called the forest seers. They would see it in general. Okay, so that's it. So those are the learning preferences of our learners. In my next lecture video, I'll be talking about how to deal with these differences or how to deal with the diversity among our learners. Right? So I hope that you learned something in this presentation. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.